In a large document, it is often needed to include figures or tables to illustrate the point. Figures could be charts, images, diagrams, and tables consist of rows and columns with text, numerical data, or equations. They all need to be captioned, and a caption includes a label saying is it a figure or a table, a number, and a short description of the content of that particular illustration. The simplest way to number them is to use consecutive numbers, but you can use composite number, which includes the chapter number and the figure number. However, this poses problems if you have illustrations within your appendices, since there is no chapter number in there. So it's a much simpler solution is simply to use consecutive numbers. The main issue is deciding where the caption needs to be, above the figure or table or below the figure or table. Each one of those have pros and cons, so you'll need to make a decision based on the information you have. The illustrated example here is for a small figure with a captioning underneath, which seems quite natural to use, and most people will instinctively choose to caption underneath the figure or table. However, this poses a problem when you have large tables or big diagrams as illustrated on the next page. If the caption is underneath that particular figure, the reader will need to look and understand the entire figure before they actually reach the caption explaining what this figure is. And here is an example with a small table captioned under the table and a large table captioned above. You can see how the problem could become more obvious if you have very long tables spanning more than one page. It will be easier for the reader if the caption is above such long table. However, a decision needs to be made, and you need to keep all the captioning consistent from beginning to end. So you'll need to decide, depending on the information you have, any particular instructions you've been given, a particular adopted style that may be in your field, or your personal preferences. All captioning needs to be consistent in the document. Whichever position you decide to put your captions in, you have to make sure that they're all consistent. So all your figures must have the caption at exactly the same place, and all your tables must have the caption in exactly the same place. However, there are some specific styles, for example APA, where figures are captioned underneath the figure and tables are captioned above the table. That still means that all tables will need to be consistent and all figures need to be consistent, but there is no consistency between figures and tables. So if you're specifically required to use a mixed style like APA, for example, where your figures are captioned underneath and your tables are captioned above, you'll have to adhere to that. If you're not specifically required, it is better to choose one option and be consistent throughout the document, and also between figures and tables of captioning above the figure or table or underneath the figure or table.